如果你在聆听时不需要频繁暂停，就能理解大意，那么你的英语积累在日常表达中是完全够用的。我们开始吧。
You can tell who holds the real power by watching whose thumb moves first. People once said this in old streets in small towns. No one wrote it down. It just lived in whispers. And from those whispers came the phrase under one's thumb. The story begins with a small town many years ago. Dusty roads. Slow mornings. A place where everyone knew who controlled what. And the one thing people watched the most was the thumb of the town's money keeper, a man named Hale. His thumb was thick, rough, and always tapping the table. Tap. 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 People said you could feel that sound in your teeth. When Hale lent money, he placed a coin on the table. Then he pressed his thumb on it. Hard. The coin would not move. The person across from him would stay still too. It felt like the thumb pinned not just the coin, but the person's whole life. Folks started saying, "He has them under his thumb." At first, it was just a joke. A light one. But it stayed. One boy saw this more clearly than anyone. His name was Tom. He often ran past the money house and watched through the open door. He saw grown men walk in tall but walk out small. He saw Hale's thumb stop arguments before they even started. Tom once tried to copy the move at home with a stone. His thumb hurt for days. One afternoon, Tom saw something different. A woman walked into Hale's place with steady steps. Her name was Mara. People said she had lost much that year. Tom waited outside, holding his breath. He heard Hale's thumb hit the table. Tap. Then silence. Long, heavy silence. Tom felt it in his chest. But then he heard something he never expected. Mara's voice. Calm. Clear. "Your thumb does not own me," she said. Tom almost dropped the stick he was holding. Inside, the coin rolled. Tom peeked in time to see it spin toward her hand. She caught it. Hale's thumb hovered in the air, unsure for the first time anyone remembered. That moment spread through town like wind through dry leaves. People whispered, "Did you hear? Someone stepped out from under his thumb." And the phrase grew a new meaning. It was no longer just about power. It became a way to talk about breaking free from it. Tom kept thinking about that moment for days. He began to look at thumbs differently. Not as tools of force, but as signs of choice. And that is where the heart of the phrase began to beat. Tom began to notice something new in town. It was quiet at first, like a soft shift in the air. People walked a little straighter. They held their hands differently. They talked in softer voices, but with stronger backs. All because of one moment when a coin rolled and a thumb hung in midair. Tom wanted to know how Mara did it. How she stood in front of the man whose thumb ruled the place. So he followed her one late afternoon as she carried baskets toward the river. She walked with slow steps, each one firm, each one sure. Tom walked behind trees, trying not to snap a twig. At the river, Mara stopped and washed her hands. The sun dropped low, turning the water gold. Tom finally stepped out. "I saw what you did," he said. She looked up and smiled. "Everyone saw," she said. "Even those who pretend they didn't." Tom kicked a stone. "Weren't you scared?" Mara dried her hands. "Fear sits on us only when we let it. Just like a thumb." Tom thought about that. He held out his hand and pressed his own thumb into his palm. It trembled, just a little. Mara laughed softly. "A thumb is strong, but a mind is stronger." That night, Tom lay awake, staring at the ceiling. He pictured Hale's thumb on the coin. He pictured Mara's hand catching the coin before it hit the floor. The two images pushed and pulled in his thoughts. Power. Freedom. Thumb. Choice. He wasn't sure how these pieces fit, but he felt something changing inside him. The next morning, town life moved on, but not in the same way. The whispers grew. People started using the phrase more boldly. "She's under his thumb." "He's under no one's thumb." "They want to keep us under their thumb." The words spread like chalk dust in sunlight. Everyone could see them. Everyone breathed them in. Tom began hearing the phrase in the bakery, at the well, even at the school steps. It became part of how people explain the world. One day, Tom walked past the old market and saw Hale again. The man stood alone, his thumb rubbing a coin over and over. It made a faint metal sound. Hale looked smaller now, like the town's walls stood taller around him. Tom slowed his steps. Hale noticed. "You staring, boy?" Hale asked. Tom shook his head, but he didn't run. Not this time. Hale's thumb stopped on the coin. For a moment, Tom wondered if the man would slam it down like before. But he didn't. He just sighed. Power, Tom realized, was not magic. It was habit. And habits could break, the same way a coin could roll away. Late that evening, the sky turned purple, and Tom met his friend Lucy by the riverbank. She had heard the story too, of course. Everyone had. "Do you think the phrase will stay?" she asked. "It already stayed," Tom said. People say it without thinking now. Lucy nodded. Funny how one thumb can make a whole town act a certain way. Tom picked up a flat stone and skipped it across the water. Yes, he said. But one voice can shake that thumb loose. Lucy watched the ripples fade. Maybe someday people won't even remember hail. They'll just know the saying. Maybe, Tom said. But they'll feel it. The way we feel stories even when we don't know where they came from. The night deepened, and a small wind blew across the river. Tom felt the cool air on his face. He felt lighter. Like he had stepped out from something without knowing he had been inside it. The phrase kept growing, floating from person to person. It traveled farther than the town lines. People carried it to new places, new lives, new tongues. And each time they said it, the shadow of Hale's thumb faded just a little more. What stayed was the meaning, being controlled, being held down, being pressed into place by someone else's will. And also the hope inside it that the thumb could lift. Years passed, and the town changed its shape the way old shoes change with long walks. New shops opened. Old roofs fell. Children grew into tall shadows on the walls. But the phrase stayed. It stuck to daily life the way flour sticks to hands in the bakery. Tom grew older too. Not by much, but enough to feel the weight of choices. Enough to remember the sound of a coin rolling and the quiet that followed. He began helping his father at the workshop, carving small wooden pieces. Birds. Boxes. Handles for doors. His hands learned patience. His mind learned questions. One slow afternoon, a traveler arrived in town. People always noticed strangers. This one carried a long coat dusted from miles on the road. His boots looked tired. His eyes looked sharp. He walked with the quiet confidence of someone who listened more than he spoke. Tom watched him step into the market square. The man stopped at Mara's table, where she sold baskets and cloth. Tom saw them talk. The traveler leaned closer, curious. Mara nodded and pointed toward the money house. The traveler's brow lifted. Tom felt something spark. He followed. The traveler walked into Hale's place with a steady step. Not slow. Not fast. Just sure. Tom stopped by the doorway. The air inside was thick and warm. Hale sat at his usual table, his thumb resting on a coin like a guard dog waiting for a command. "You want coin?" Hale asked. "No," the traveler said. "I want a story." Hale's thumb twitched. "I don't sell stories." "But you made one," the traveler said. "People speak of it on the road. A thumb that rolls." A town that bends. A woman who didn't bend. Hale's jaw tightened. For a moment, Tom thought the man would send the traveler away. Instead, Hale pressed his thumb harder onto the coin. The metal made a dry scrape on the wood. Stories grow on their own, Hale said. Like weeds. The traveler smiled a little. Weeds grow only where there is room. Hale looked up sharply. The room felt smaller suddenly. Tom caught the traveler's eye for a quick moment, and the man gave him a tiny nod, as if inviting him into a secret he had not spoken yet. Hale pushed the coin away. "You can leave," he said. But the traveler did not leave. He sat down in the chair opposite Hale, a bold move that sent a ripple down Tom's spine. "Tell me," the traveler said. "How does it feel when the town no longer listens to your thumb?" Hale's face went white, then red. His fingers curled. His thumb lifted off the coin. It shook. Just a little. But enough. Tom felt something shift in the air. Like a door opening. Like a shadow stepping back from the light. Hale stood. His voice cracked. "Get out." The traveler rose calmly. "Thank you," he said. Silence is also a story. He walked out. Tom followed him into the sunlight. The traveler stopped by the well and looked at Tom. "A town learns," he said. "Even when it thinks it can't." Tom swallowed. "You knew about the thumb?" "Everyone on the road knows," the traveler said. "A thumb can press. But it can also slip." Then he placed a coin into Tom's hand. Not for debt. Not for power. Just a coin. Light. Cool. Free. "Hold it as you want," he said. "Not as someone tells you." And then he walked away down the road, leaving only dust and the faint smell of cedar behind him. Tom looked at the coin. He didn't press his thumb on it. He let it rest open on his palm. The sun warmed it. For the first time, the weight of a coin felt like nothing at all. Later that night, people gathered by the fire near the old oak. They shared fragments of the traveler's visit. Some said he was a writer. Some said a teacher. Some said he was just a man who noticed things. But everyone agreed on one point: the story of under one's thumb had grown bigger than the thumb itself. And Tom knew it was still growing. Seasons kept turning, the way they always do. Leaves browned. Snow came and left. Markets shifted their colors. People changed homes, jobs, dreams. The town grew lines and stories like a face growing wrinkles. Tom kept the traveler's coin in a small wooden box he made himself. Not to hide it. Just to keep it safe. Sometimes he took it out and let it sit on his palm. The coin no longer felt like a weight. It felt like a reminder. Mara grew older too. Her steps slowed, but her voice stayed clear. People still asked her what she said that day in Hale's place. She just smiled. "I said what needed saying," she would answer. Hale's influence faded the way fog fades in morning sun. He still sat in his chair. He still had his thumb. But people walked past him now without shrinking. Some even nodded politely. The fear was gone. And once fear leaves a place, it rarely returns the same. Tom watched all of this with quiet eyes. He felt the town breathe easier. He felt himself breathe easier. And the phrase kept echoing through conversations in simple, everyday ways. He's under his thumb. She won't stay under anyone's thumb. They climbed out from under that thumb. No anger. No drama. Just ways of explaining life. One warm evening, when the sky looked like brushed copper, Tom stood at the edge of town. He could see the open road stretching into dusk. The same road the traveler had taken. Tom held the coin again. He turned it between his fingers. Lucy walked up beside him. "Thinking about leaving?" she asked. Tom shook his head. "Thinking about learning." "Learning what?" "What it feels like," Tom said, "to live without a thumb on my life. And without putting my thumb on anyone else's." Lucy smiled. "Maybe that's what growing up is." The wind moved through the grass. Tom closed his eyes for a moment. He saw Hale pressing down on the coin. He saw Mara catching it. He saw the traveler's steady gaze. He saw himself, small but changing. The phrase "under one's thumb" no longer felt like a story about Hale. Or Mara. Or the town. It felt like a map. One that showed where people sometimes get stuck. And where they sometimes break free. Tom opened his eyes. "Funny," he said. "A thumb is so small. But it can shape a whole life." Lucy bumped his shoulder. "Only if we let it." He laughed softly. "Right. Only if we let it." They stood there until the first star showed. Tom knew people far away were using the same phrase now, in new towns and new stories he would never hear. And yet, every time someone said it, a tiny piece of this place lived on. Because the phrase carried more than meaning. It carried a truth people knew in their bones: when someone has their thumb on you, you feel it. When the thumb lifts, you feel that even more. And once you taste that freedom, you don't forget it. Maybe that's why the phrase survived so long. Not because of power, but because everyone, everywhere, knows what it means to want their own life back. And maybe that's why you're hearing this story now. Because part of you has felt a thumb too. Or still feels one. Or is ready to push it away. The phrase started with one coin, one thumb, one moment. But it kept living because people kept choosing to step out from under it. Just like you can. Anytime you decide the weight no longer belongs on you.
作为一个母语非英语的人，能把故事听完，你的进步太大了。感谢你收看这个节目。如果你觉得这个节目对你有帮助，请给我一个点赞，或者留下评论，这对我很重要。我们下个视频见。